This is the Golden Gate, a narrow stretch of water where the Pacific Ocean turns violent. Freezing currents crash through this gap like a raging funnel. In the 1920s, this place wasn't just dangerous, it was deadly. San Francisco sat trapped on a peninsula, surrounded by water, cut off from the north. The only way across was by rusty ferries, packed with people risking their lives in thick, blinding fog. One wrong move, and you were gone. The ocean didn't forgive mistakes, it swallowed them. The best engineers in the world looked at this water and said the same thing. Building a bridge here? Impossible. The currents were too strong, the winds too violent, the fog too unpredictable. But one man disagreed, Joseph Strauss, a dreamer with something to prove. While others saw death, he saw opportunity. He wanted to build the impossible, and he didn't care what it took to get there. But Strauss wasn't just fighting nature, he was fighting people. The U.S. Navy strongly opposed the project. They feared a destroyed bridge could trap their entire Pacific fleet. Then came the Great Depression. The economy collapsed, men were starving, jobs disappeared overnight. But in this chaos, the bridge became hope, a chance to put thousands back to work. Against all odds, the money was found, and the impossible project was approved. In 1933, construction began. The North Tower? Easy. It stood on solid ground, right on the shoreline. Workers could build safely, with the earth beneath their feet. But the South Tower was a different story. It would rise from the open ocean. No land, no stability, just waves, wind, and danger. This wasn't just construction anymore. It was a battle against nature itself. To reach the site, workers built a fragile wooden pier straight into the ocean. But nature struck back immediately. Thick fog rolled in, reducing visibility to zero. Then, disaster. A lost cargo ship, blind in the fog, crashed straight into the pier. Weeks of work destroyed in seconds. They rebuilt. But months later, a massive storm hit. Waves tore equipment apart, dragging millions of dollars into the sea. Every step forward was met with destruction. To build the tower, they had to go deep, 100 feet underwater. Divers descended into freezing darkness, wearing heavy suits of brass and lead. They couldn't see, they could barely move. Working only by touch, they planted explosives into jagged rock. Timing was everything. If the current shifted, they died. Then came the blast. Over and over again, they shattered the ocean floor, slowly carving a flat surface beneath the waves. Next came the impossible idea, building dry land in the middle of the ocean. They lowered a massive steel structure, like a giant bathtub, onto the ocean floor. Then they pumped out millions of gallons of water. Slowly, the impossible happened. The ocean disappeared, leaving dry ground behind. Workers stood beneath the sea, their boots dry. Inside this space, they poured the foundation, creating a solid base where none should exist. Now, the real structure could begin. 83,000 tons of steel were shipped across the world, passing through the Panama Canal. Each piece was coated to survive the brutal saltwater. When the ships arrived, the site transformed. Cranes lifted massive beams into place. Slowly, the tower began to rise. Steel replacing sky. What once was empty ocean was now becoming something extraordinary. But building high above the ocean was deadly. Workers balanced on narrow beams, hundreds of feet in the air. No harnesses, no safety nets. One slip meant death. They worked like dancers, moving with precision. Hot rivets were thrown through the air, caught mid-flight, then hammered into place. Every connection had to be perfect, because up here, there was no second chance. The towers climbed higher, into the clouds, 700 feet above the ocean. But they weren't solid blocks. They were designed to bend, to survive earthquakes and wind. At the top, massive saddles were installed. These weren't fixed in place. They sat on rollers, allowing movement as the steel expanded and contracted. Every detail mattered, because this bridge had to survive forces beyond imagination. With the towers complete, one problem remained. A massive gap, 4,200 feet wide, the longest ever attempted. To hold the bridge, they built enormous anchors deep in the ground. Then came the first wire, a single thin line pulled across the violent water by boat. That wire became the beginning. Soon narrow catwalks stretched across the sky, swinging dangerously in the wind. Now came the most brilliant part. They couldn't lift massive cables, so they built them in the air, wire by wire. A spinning wheel moved back and forth, laying thousands of strands. Day and night, non-stop. If one wire failed, everything stopped. Slowly, the cables grew, thicker, stronger, until they became massive steel arteries, capable of holding the entire bridge. With the cables ready, the roadway began to take shape. Steel sections were lifted into the sky and connected piece by piece. But balance was critical. Build too much on one side, and the structure could collapse. So every move had to be matched, left and right, perfectly balanced. Slowly, the two sides moved closer, inch by inch. Then came the final moment. A small gap remained, but temperature controlled everything. The steel expanded and contracted with heat, so they waited for the perfect condition. Then the final beam was lowered, and just like that, the gap was gone. The bridge was complete. Concrete was poured, and the iconic color, International Orange, was chosen to stand out in the fog. But this victory came at a cost. Construction in the 1930s was brutal. Death was expected, but Strauss refused to accept it. He introduced safety gear and built a massive net beneath the bridge. It saved 19 men who called themselves the Halfway to Hell Club. Still, not everyone survived. The bridge demanded sacrifice, and it took it. The Golden Gate Bridge stands today, not just as a structure, but as a symbol of courage, of risk, of human determination against impossible odds. If you want to explore more incredible stories like this, stay connected with Chronex. Like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments, what story should we uncover next?